carrying this manuscript to space. To help, perhaps, in averting the appalling scourge which is menacing the human race. Lord, have pity on us. As for me, Ulysse Meroux, I have set off again with my family in the spaceship. We can keep going for several years. One day, perhaps, we shall come across a friendly planet. It was in the year 2500 that I embarked with 2 companions in the cosmic ship with the intention of reaching the region of space where the supergigantic star Betelgeuse reigns supreme. Why was such a distant star chosen as the target for the first interstellar flight? It was the learned Professor Ontel who made this decision. "My dear Ulysse," he said, "it is not much harder, and it is scarcely any longer for us to reach Betelgeuse than a much closer star. Thanks to its rockets, which I had the honor of designing, this craft can move at the speed of light. A few seconds for you and me will coincide with the passage of several years on Earth." We started from the moon. As Professor Ontel had foreseen, the voyage lasted about 2 years of our time, during which 3.5 centuries must have elapsed on Earth. If we came back one day, we should find our planet older by 700 or 800 years. But we did not care. The professor often admitted he was tired of our fellow men, and this probably explains why he had collected in the craft countless vegetable species and some animals, while limiting the number of passengers to 3, himself, his disciple Arthur Levin, and myself, a little-known journalist. The professor had also brought a little chimpanzee, whom we had christened Hector. On arriving in the Betelgeuse system, it was not long before we discovered the existence of 4 planets. One of these was about the same size as Earth, and possessed an atmosphere containing oxygen and nitrogen. We decided to make it our first objective. The craft was not equipped for landing, but we had 3 much smaller launches. We embarked in one of these, taking Hector the chimpanzee with us, who, like us, wore a diving suit. As for our ship, we simply let it revolve round the planet. Our flight swept us first over cultivated fields, then a thick russet-coloured forest, which called to mind our equatorial jungle. We caught sight of a fairly big clearing occupying the top of a plateau. We hovered motionless for a moment or 2 above the clearing, then came down gently, on green grass. We clambered out of the launch, and Professor Ontel analyzed the atmosphere. The result was encouraging. The air had the same composition as the Earth's. It was undoubtedly breathable. To make doubly sure, we tried it out first on our chimpanzee. Rid of his suit, he appeared perfectly happy, and scampered off to the nearby forest, sprang into a tree and continued his capering in the branches. Before taking a further step, we felt it was urgent to give the planet a name. We christened it Soro, because of its resemblance to Earth. Deciding to make an initial reconnaissance, we entered the forest which surrounded the plateau, following a sort of natural path. Arthur Levin and I were armed with carbines. We were marching in single file when young Levin, who was leading, stopped and motioned us to listen. A murmur like running water could be heard at a distance. We made our way in that direction, and the sound became clearer. It was a waterfall. A stream of water twisted above our heads, spread out into a sheet on a ledge of level ground, and fell at our feet from a height of several yards into a lake. The sight of this water was so tempting that the same urge seized Levin and me. We took off our clothes and got ready to dive into the lake. But Professor Ontel went up to the edge of it, bent down, then cautiously touched it with his finger. Finally he scooped a little up in the palm of his hand, inhaled it, and wetted the end of his tongue. "It can't be anything but water," he muttered. Without further ado, the learned scientist likewise shed his clothes and plunged his skinny body into the pool. Arthur Levin alone seemed harassed and lost in thought. I was about to make a taunting remark on his melancholy expression, when I saw a woman just above us, perched on the rocky ledge from which the cascade fell. She boldly asserted her femininity, completely naked, and without any ornament other than her hair, which hung down to her shoulders. I was so dazzled that I could not discern any particular feature. Her body hypnotized me. It was only after several minutes that I perceived her skin was golden rather than bronzed, that she was tall and slender. Finally, I looked at her eyes, and I stiffened, for in her expression there was a sort of void, an absence of expression, reminding me of a wretched mad girl I'd once known. She opened her mouth. I was prepared for the most barbarous language, but not for the strange sounds that came out of her throat, specifically out of her throat, which seemed to express the joyful frenzy of an animal.